get dropped for the right back in. I'm gonna fight this shit. I'm gonna take this risk and let my pride get dropped for the right back in. Cause there's no question, I've been through worse, I can handle this. Let's go. I'm better than
What is good, boxing fans and gamers? It's your boy, Fight Night's finest, the Sophie commentator, here on Day the One's channel, joined by ArachnidSoul, calling this online ranked match between one ButterBean, Day the One, representing America with those red, white, and blue colored robes, on his way down to the ring. Look at the determination in his face, going up against one of the most deadliest fighters to ever be created in boxing. The EA guys have put together this masterpiece known as Isaac Frost.
You hear that opening bell. Like Fight Night's finest just said, we have a world championship bout on our hands here tonight. Obviously, ButterBean going in the underdog. This is the most mismatched fight I think I've ever called. ButterBean going in, looking like that milk bottle. Going up against the guy with the ink, with the tan, with the little spikes on his shorts. Can ButterBean overcome Isaac Frost here tonight?
Well, let's talk about what each fighter brings to the ring here tonight, man. ButterBean, one of the most inaccurate fighters on the game. The worst stamina fighter. This man does not have good endurance, but he does come into the ring weighing 400 pounds. So Isaac Frost, obviously more cut, more trimmed. He looks like he's been in the gym a long time, and he's been doing what he has to do in the weight room, and that shows with that natural born power that he brings to the ring. Isaac Frost hits like a freaking brick, like a truck coming at you at 100 miles per hour, a 16-wheeler coming straight onto the side of your face. That's what those punches are going to feel like to Eric ButterBean here tonight. And the question is, will ButterBean be able to compensate for that lack of stamina that he has, that lack of power against Frost? Will he be able to put Frost down onto the canvas, or will he look to outpoint him and outbox him? Because this is not a fight that ButterBean will want to drag out too long, now is it?
Well, I'll say this. This is the kind of match that Isaac Frost would usually set up for an exhibition or a sparring, maybe getting ready for a big fight. Tonight, ButterBean is at such a disadvantage in terms of not necessarily power. ButterBean does have that devastating left hook. If he can throw it, I believe ButterBean's got a shot here. But in terms of overall stats, I mean, Isaac Frost wins in every category. Isaac Frost is a man with an ego. Look at ButterBean. Look at ButterBean taunting Isaac Frost. That is the wrong move, King Hippo.
Yeah, you see him getting a little cocky at the end of the round. I think ButterBean's trying to send a statement here. He's trying to send a message to let him know, I don't care how hard you hit. I don't care what the fans say. I don't care what the people and the developers of the game say. I'm here for 12 to 10 rounds. No matter what it takes, I'll fight you outside. We'll fight after the final bell rings if necessary. He's trying to send that message to let him know, hey, I'm not pussyfooting around here. I'm going to be around all night.
Well, I mean, you look at the development on the body of Isaac Frost, and you have to wonder, is this a guy who's been spending too much time doing those isolation movements? ButterBean's a guy, looks more like a strongman type competitor there. He's doing the compound movements, the deadlifts, the bench, the squat, and I can tell from the physique of Isaac Frost that while he's got the delts, he's got the traps, the abs, the obliques, he's got everything. I look downstairs, look at those scrawny chicken legs, bro. Do you even lift? What are you doing on leg day?
I'm not sure, because them casts are looking tight skinny. I mean, he's looking tight skimpy in himself in terms of downstairs. But, you know, a boxer draws a lot of power from his back, and you see the development in the back of Isaac Frost. And what we're also seeing here, which is also very unique, is that Isaac Frost is in southpaw. What kind of advantage will that give ButterBean with that 20 right hook going into this fight?
Well, I have to tell you, and a lot of fighters in real life won't even take a fight against a southpaw fighter because there's so few of them to spar against, and it's that thing that's going to really destroy your record, getting in the ring and getting in there and fighting with somebody who throws from the left side. This is something people do not prepare for. ButterBean getting rocked there with a couple of shots. We saw some straights, we saw some uppercuts. ButterBean does not want to fight Isaac Frost, and he damn sure doesn't want to fight Frost when Frost is switched from orthodox to southpaw stance.
Yeah, that definitely means that he got that power here. Even though he's like David, man, like David in the David Goliath story, where he can shoot arrows with both hands. Isaac Frost can hurt you with both hands, and that's exactly what we're gonna end up seeing here tonight. As you know, even though he switched stances, and that's not his majority power hand, that's not his natural hand. He's not ambidextrous type fighter. He can hit from both hands, but he's not ambidextrous. But we show him here where as he switched into that stance and hit him with the right hook, he's more than capable of hitting and hurting ButterBean whatever shot that he has to take. What we want to see is ButterBean on the outside, though, not on the inside like we're seeing here.
Well, let's talk about a lot of those 80s movies you saw. You had that one guy, wasn't in the best shape, might not have been the most popular, didn't have the coolest looking gear, didn't have all the fly chicks on his arm, and then you had that obnoxious asshole. That guy who was the captain of the football team. That guy with the swag, with the nice car. He had the Lamborghini. He had the girls. He had the gift of gab. He had it all. That's Isaac Frost. So tonight, it's not only about David and Goliath. It's about the everyman standing up for the people, for you, the boys and girls at home, standing up for Joe Everyman tonight is ButterBean. Let's see if he can drop the elitist Isaac Frost.
Well, the real question is, when is he going to stop getting hit by these combinations? Isaac Frost being able to hit ButterBean with some clean exchanges up top. And what we see right there is that counter left hook that you were talking about. ButterBean able to get in one of his signatures. One of his most damaging punches has connected in the fight. But it didn't seem to phase Frost that much, though.
Well, let's talk about Frost here for a second. Frost is a guy who, like I said, his stats are so high, he doesn't have just one punch like a ButterBean. He doesn't just have one left hook. If something's not working, he's got so many things he can switch up and go to. And that strategy switching is going to confuse an opponent. Whereas with ButterBean, you really go in, you try to feel a guy out in the early goings, and then it's all about those power shots. The technique's not there. We know ButterBean doesn't have the best conditioning. How can a fighter like ButterBean, who pretty much puts everything on the table, shows his cards early on, how can he kind of switch up his strategy and be successful?
Well, the main thing that he has to do is be able to adjust. No matter how strong the guy is, how fast the guy is, it's all going to come down to timing. The thing is that you can't get in these exchanges, these brawls, and you can't really try to do anything different or anything new. What you have to do is just do what you do well, which is that counter left hook, and he also has a really strong right hook as well. So what he needs to do is time those shots. He needs to time that left hook. As we see him able to, connect with two counters during that round, he was able to land those shots, and it showed to Frost that, I have the ability to, land some shots on you. Even though we see that tough, penetratable defense in the Philly shell, it's not easy to get through. We saw ButterBean able to connect with two shots. But the thing I want to talk about here is, Frost hurt ButterBean earlier. He was able to stun him with that right hook once he switched to the southpaw stance. The question is, should Frost really go for broke here, knowing the fact that ButterBean can't compete with him in terms of the power or the speed or the stamina? Should he go for broke and just try to end this one early?
Well, so many times in boxing and MMA and wrestling, so many times in combat sports, a guy who's going in and is the underdog, all he's really got to do is hang with the other guy. Meanwhile, that other guy who's expected to win, he's got two ways he can go. He can either try, and he drops ButterBean. ButterBean has gone down. You saw it come from the left side, grazing the chin of ButterBean. ButterBean down flat on the canvas for the first time tonight. Will he be able to get up? Will he be able to answer the count?
but being able to answer the count at number 2. So that shows, you know, he wasn't really hurt. It's just a flash knockdown. We're seeing the cockiness from Frost come here. He had those hands down. He was swerving and moving all over the place, almost as a form of disrespect to say, Butterbean, I'm not gay. And Butterbean didn't like that. He did not like the disrespect that Frost just showed him. And he's here on the inside. He's brawling instead of stepping off of him, which would be the right thing to do, is to clinch, try to get your wits back about you, move around the ring, try to establish that jab, and hope for the end of the round. Just survive. Trading with Frost is not the best idea to do right here, but Butterbean seems to be holding his own.
Like I was saying before, Isaac Frost in the position of being the guy expected to win this fight. One of two ways he can go. He can either go balls to the wall and try to drop Butterbean as soon as possible to keep that rep, or he can back off. He can gas Butterbean. Butterbean does not have good conditioning, damn sure doesn't have the conditioning of Isaac Frost, and then Frost can come in the later rounds and drop a Butterbean who at that point is going to be sucking wind and is going to have his hands in his pockets.
What I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Frost is he switched back to the orthodox stance in this round. It's the fact that Frost really isn't taking advantage of the power that he has, but he also is looking type sluggish. Those combinations aren't having the same snap that they would normally have, and we're now seeing that pressure game. Butterbean trying to put all 400 pounds of him on top of Isaac Frost to help wear him down. Now, we talked about how conditioned Isaac Frost looks, but you know, with all that power, with all that strength, and all those full swings that we're seeing from Frost, the question is, will he have the stamina to go the distance with Mr. Butterbean here? Because neither of them really do have the best stamina, even though Frost looks much better conditioned. The question is, when will Butterbean start to show that jab in order to keep Frost in this place, and when will Frost gas himself out as we saw in the Bishop fight?
Now, as I sit here in the booth with you, I like to ask you questions because you know a lot about boxing, you know a lot more than most people. Sometimes I have those rhetorical questions for you, and here's one right now, or maybe you do have an answer for it. Isaac Frost, starting out early on in the southpaw stance, we see him switch to orthodox. We see him switching back and forth. Why, if the first stance is working, do you change it up?
Well, maybe he felt it wasn't working. You know, sometimes a fighter feels like they can't get the full extent of what it is that they're doing in a certain stance. Maybe Frost here is trained in both stances. Maybe he'll be what most fighters would consider a switch hitter. You know, a lot of the fighters nowadays in modern day boxing like to switch stances. You know, they don't have that discipline to stay just in the left, you know, the left original orthodox stance, or, you know, if they're a southpaw and they're left-handed, stay in the southpaw stance. A lot of them like to switch in between stances here. So maybe we're seeing a more modernized technique of boxing here. Like, even in the way these two throw punches, if you see the way that Isaac Frost goes as he tries to land that low blow there, and the taunt by Butterbean at the end of the round, what we're seeing is that crisp kind of sluggish style from Frost will be the crisp style, and then the sluggish style will be from Butterbean. We're seeing kind of more roundhouse hooks rather than compact short hooks from Butterbean versus Isaac Frost. So the difference is clear in the different eras of boxing as well.
And some people are going to wonder why Butterbean has been taunting somewhat in this match. Now, this match might be won on the judges if it doesn't go to a knockdown, if it doesn't go to a knockout. And what you see a lot of the time in both boxing, in Muay Thai, in kickboxing, and MMA, you have cornermen who will yell out, who will scream, who will make noise every time their fighter connects with a blow. And we see
How about
Isaac
we scream
Frost
about that power straight to the head as Butterbean closes the gap. He's going nuts with those hooks. Frost trying to fight his way off the ropes. Counter left hook downstairs by Butterbean. He's pressing the action. He's hungry for this knockdown. He knows this might be the only one chance that he'll hurt Frost. Frost throwing back instead of covering up. It was those demolishing Mickey Ward hooks downstairs to the body that drops him. Get cold clock. Somebody please teach that man some defense. Isaac Frost down for the first time here tonight. Butterbean doing the impossible. Nobody thought Frost would be down in this fight, did they, Arachnid?
I have to be honest with you. I have to go into these fights. I've got to call things down the middle, but I do not go in without prejudging the fighters. I didn't think Butterbean stood much of a chance. When I looked at the records, when I looked at the stats, Butterbean has proved me wrong. Butterbean has the ability to drop Isaac Frost. Let's continue watching this bout. Let's see if Butterbean can do it again.
The thing that I'm liking from ButterBean here is he's not being reckless. He's not showing that reckless aggression. He's doing calculated pressure. He's trying to get onto the inside. He's doing it fundamentally right. You saw him using that jab a little bit earlier in the round number 6 here, where ButterBean was able to catch that first knockdown. And then when he gets on towards the inside, he covers up, he waits for Frost to finish doing his damage, and then either he looks for a dual exchange or he looks to counter with that jab like he did downstairs. Frost with the counter hook upstairs, and then lands 3 more beautiful shots. Another counter right hook by Frost upstairs, and that's going to cause ButterBean to block off. But I'm liking what he's doing. He's doing things fundamentally well.
ButterBean ButterBean boxing. I must be thinking of that time he knocked out Bart Gunn in that WrestleMania bout. ButterBean boxing, a much smarter fight at this point. We talked earlier on how he was being a little bit too aggressive, and when he got rocked, he was still engaging. What we saw in that last round was when he got rocked, he put his helmet on, he backed up, and he recovered a little bit before engaging once again.
You gotta love what you're seeing from ButterBean here at this point. The underdog. He knows he doesn't have the power. He knows he doesn't have the endurance, but he's conditioned himself. He's pacing himself quite well. And what we're seeing from Frost here is a guy who's not really taking advantage of the difference in the matchup problem. Where Isaac Frost should be able to correct all kinds of problems for ButterBean here tonight. But we're seeing this Frost, really taking his time. He's getting hit with a lot of shots that he shouldn't have. He's trying to get in dual exchanges and not protecting his body. And because of that, it's giving ButterBean a chance to get in that signature left hook, to get in that powerful right hook of his. It's giving ButterBean the chance to do what it is that we thought he might be able to do well. And we're seeing that more and more as this fight goes into the later rounds.
And to finish the point I was trying to make about a round and a half ago, a lot of the time you'll see cornermen, you'll see promoters outside the ring making noise, yelling a certain chant that goes out every time their fighter connects with the power blow. That just to reinforce in the minds of the judges, hey, my guy's winning. Now, when you don't have people doing that outside the ring, sometimes as a fighter inside the ring, you will taunt. And I believe that was what was going on in the mind of ButterBean. I do not believe he was taunting Isaac Frost just for the sake of taunting Isaac Frost.
Yeah, like I said, he just wants to solidify his place in Isaac Frost's mind to know that he's gonna be here all night. What I'm really seeing from ButterBean right now that I'm liking is that defense has tightened up. He's not taking those same shots that he was taking in rounds number 4 and 3. We're seeing a much different ButterBean here tonight. But we talked about the judges and, trying to submit in the mind of the judges, hey, what's going on? This is going to happen. This is going to happen. As you already know, as you came into this fight with that predetermined mindset that ButterBean has no chance. He'll obviously be the less marketable fighter compared to Frost. The question I want to know is, will the judges do the right thing here tonight if the fight goes to decision?
Well, sometimes if you take a boxer who's expected to win and you take a boxer who's expected to lose and they hang with each other and they go toe-to-toe, chin to chin for 10 rounds, for 12 rounds, whatever the case might be, sometimes they will give it to the underdog because, hell, they expected him to get knocked out and it seems like he won. So we're going to have to keep watching this. I don't know that it's going to a decision. I feel the way that this thing is gone, we might actually see somebody get dropped. We might see Frost go down again. ButterBean has been extremely successful on his feet. We're going to have to keep watching this bout to see how this thing plays out.
Yeah, this is anybody's fight, regardless of what you saw on the scorecard. As the lead is for Isaac Frost, 6 rounds to 1. As we're in the 8th round right now. What we need to see, though, from ButterBean is he can't let it go to the judges' hands. He can't let this fight be in the decision of the judges. Because if he does, we know who's going to win the fight. We've seen this many times with last week, not even last week, last month with Danny Garcia and his fight. We've seen a lot of robberies. Martin Murray versus Sergio Martinez. We've seen it in the modern era that a robbery is possible. So you have to go out there and do what it is that you have to do. Either that or just win very convincingly without taking any damage. For ButterBean, he's going to have to knock him out. I don't see him getting this decision victory, regardless of how well he fights. Frost with a dirty tactic there with that headbutt. Let's talk about illegal blows, man. If anybody right now, ButterBean should be the one doing the legal blows. Do you agree with me on that?
I have to be honest with you, from the little bit I know about ButterBean outside the ring and the little bit I know about Isaac Frost is a complete asshole outside the ring. ButterBean, a family man, a guy always signing autographs, a guy always doing charity work. So I wouldn't expect ButterBean to sink that low, and I'm surprised that Isaac Frost, a man who I'm sure is aware he's winning the majority of these rounds, would sink so low as to throw a headbutt.
Yeah, it's definitely a disgrace to boxing when you see people going for those cheap moves, those cheap tactics. Nobody wants to see a fighter do that. We've seen this with fighters in the past, and it's just nasty and downright dirty. Frost finally paying the penalty. The referee takes a point. That's exactly what we need to see here. That's just absolutely ridiculous. Nobody wants to see you doing this kind of thing. Like, ButterBean is showing right now that he's a champion, that he's here to fight, but we also see maybe the effects of that low blow as he gets hit with a devastating body shot and gets cold clocked by the left hook. ButterBean down for the second time tonight. All 400 pounds onto the canvas, and this is absolutely unnecessary. What is he getting out of this for making ButterBean and the fans at home watch this 3 times?
I have to be honest with you, sometimes when you've got that ego, if you can make them watch it 3 times or 300 times, you're not going to hit that button.
Absolutely ridiculous. That's very uncalled for. The difference in the fighters, you shouldn't even have to sink this low. Look at the pride of this Isaac Frost. This dude's E-penis must be at 1 inch.
Measuring in at 1 inch. Fighting out of the asshole's corner. It's that dickhead, Isaac Frost.
Isaac Frost, I'm really at this point. The only thing I want to see from ButterBean right now is the heart of a champion, and to just see Isaac Frost laying on his back and his cornerman just looking over him, trying to help him off that canvas. That's what I want to see right now.
Well, I'll say this is a moral victory for ButterBean for a couple of reasons. Not only has he hung with Isaac Frost thus far, but to be honest with you, he's fighting clean. He's fighting what I believe to be a better fight in terms of sportsmanship. Anybody can come in, give somebody a headbutt, throw a low blow, get a point deducted, and then realize as a result of the headbutt, I can now knock him out and win the round. It's a cowardly way to fight. I do not respect Isaac Frost here tonight, and I'm hoping that ButterBean can drop him.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that we can see those duplicated results that we saw in round number 6 from ButterBean when he was able to drop him onto the canvas for the first time. I really want to see just Isaac Frost get put in this place right here. I have a strong distaste for guys, first of all, who will even go ahead and get themselves into a matchup like this. But then you do everything in the book that it is to win besides spam. But we're now seeing those straight right hands come out quite often. This man has gone to the lowest wells that you can find in the urban area.
I mean, really, the only thing Isaac Frost could do at this point to make himself look any worse is to just cover up and run the rest of the fight. He's done everything else.
Yeah, he definitely has. But look at that determination of the Bean. His cornerman giving him some solid advice as we head into the 10th and final round. Will ButterBean give the fans at home what they want? Will Isaac Frost run like a punk for the rest of this match? Let's go into the 10th and final round as ButterBean comes out with some strong jabs and some nice left and right hooks. He's doing what it takes to go ahead and try to put Frost out of his misery. And here comes the Bean.
The Bean needs to go all out. The Bean needs to go full in. The Bean needs to bring his A game in this final round of this fight. You are watching a championship quality fight on Dave the Ripped One's YouTube channel. And
Look
Isaac
at that
Frost.
monster left hook. Look at the stun right there. It was the straight right hand followed up by that left hook. Down goes Isaac Frost for the second time. There we go. That's what we all wanted to see.
The people in the arena come to their feet. Isaac Frost comes back to his feet. Everyone hanging on this fight. The emotions are high. The tension is so thick you can cut it with a knife. As everybody, and once again, down goes Isaac Frost. Down goes Isaac Frost.
It was a beautiful thunderbolt of a punch with that straight right hand. I don't think he's getting up from this one. Nobody in their right mind could stand after a punch like that. Directly on the chin. Down goes Isaac Frost. That's the 10 count. It's done. It's finished. Isaac Frost is your loser. Look at him sprawled out on the ring. This is what we all wanted to see. No cornerman to help him though.
It's the upset of the century. ButterBean has done it. ButterBean has pulled it out. For Fight Night's finest, the Sophic commentator, it's your boy, ArachnidSoul. Intellectual, voracious, and passionate about boxing, as always. ButterBean has done it. ButterBean has done it. Thank you, and good night.
Now he's sitting there with his arm raised with a knockout victory.
Well, that's the benefit of those body punches.